Have you ever wondered why some men rise from dust and become legends, while others, with more talent, more luck, and more chances, die with their dreams still inside them? It's not fate. It's not luck. It's not luck. It's not even intelligence. It's discipline, forged through brutal habits that most men refuse to build. And the first of these habits, it begins in the one place most people lose before their day even starts, their morning. Wake up 2 hours earlier than comfort allows. Not when the alarm says, not when the sun is out, but when every lazy voice inside you begs you to sleep just a little more. That moment, right there, is war. And if you win it, everything else becomes easier. Because that hour when the world sleeps is the hour you meet your future. While others are drooling on their pillows, you're sharpening your mind, strengthening your will, commanding your thoughts. You are not reacting to life. You are creating it. Greatness doesn't arrive at 9 a.m. with a cup of coffee. It rises with the man who beat his own weakness before dawn. The battlefield is your bed. The enemy is comfort. And the reward, power, quiet, invisible power. Because a man who controls his morning controls his mind. And a man who controls his mind cannot be owned by anyone. Not fear, not failure, not opinion. Ask yourself, why is it always the most dangerous people, the most respected, the most feared, who rise before the world does? Because they know the mind is a fortress, and fortresses are not built in chaos. They are built in silence, in solitude, in sacred hours, when distractions are dead. Your excuses are loud at 7 a.m., but they're weak at 4:30. That's when your higher self speaks. That's when vision appears. That's when champions are built. The second habit that will save you sounds simple, but it holds more weight than gold. Write down your purpose every single day. Not once, not when you feel lost. Every single day. Why? Because clarity fades. Because life will try to distract you, tempt you, fool you, beat you. And a man without written purpose is a man drifting in a storm with no compass. Your purpose must not just live in your head. It must live on paper, inked into your reality, staring back at you like a command from your future self. When you write it down, you're not just reminding yourself, you're programming your subconscious. You're aligning your decisions with your destiny. You're telling your mind, this is where we're going, whether you feel like it or not. You are turning your mission into a weapon. Every day you write it, it gets sharper, more focused, more dangerous, and one day it becomes unshakable. Most men forget why they started. That's why they stop. You won't, because you'll have proof. Words that pierce your own doubt, sentences that slap you awake when you're tired. A declaration, not a dream. There's power in that pen, but it only works if you use it. If you write through the boredom, through the days when your fire flickers, through the noise, the failure, the confusion, especially then. When you combine the early hour with written purpose, you become different, dangerous, focused. While the world scrolls, you build. While the world forgets, you remember. While the world sleeps, you rise. The habit isn't hard. The habit is sacred, and only those who treat it like oxygen will survive what's coming. What if I told you the fastest way to transform your life isn't by doing more, but by doing less? What if the real breakthrough comes not from addition, but from subtraction? Most people are drowning, not because they don't have talent, but because they're saying yes to everything. They open the gates to every distraction, every person, every demand, and then wonder why their life feels like chaos. If you want to be powerful, if you want to save yourself from being average, learn this brutal habit. Say no more than you say yes. Success isn't built on opportunities alone. It's built on the discipline to reject the wrong ones. Weak men chase approval. They say yes out of fear. Fear of missing out. Fear of offending. Fear of being alone. But powerful men know that every yes is a trade. Every yes costs you energy, focus, time, your most valuable assets. And if you keep saying yes to the wrong things, you will never have space for the right ones. When you say no, you're not being rude. You're being strategic. You're protecting your vision. You're drawing a line in the sand that says my purpose matters more than your comfort. Look around. The most successful people are not the most talented. They are the most selective. They protect their time like a fortress, because they know wasted hours become wasted years. Start saying no to people who drain you. Say no to events that offer zero growth. Say no to distractions that hijack your mind. Say no to tasks that don't serve your mission. And most importantly, say no to the version of you that wants to please everyone. You're not here to be liked. You're here to be remembered. But it doesn't stop there. Once you learn to say no, the next habit is just as savage and just as necessary. Remove one toxic habit before you add a new one. You want to become better? You want to grow? Everyone does. But here's the secret. No one tells you. You can't build greatness on a foundation that's still rotting. You can't keep stacking goals on top of addictions, distractions, laziness, and think you'll win. The old you must die before the new one can live. You don't rise by yourself. That's the lie. That's what the world wants you to believe. That if you just work hard in silence, everything will fall into place. No. Silence only works when you're planted in the right soil. And that soil is people. Want to know why your momentum keeps crashing? Why your fire doesn't last? It's not your ambition, it's your environment. You're surrounded by the wrong ones. The lazy, the distracted, the excuse makers. You don't see it, but they are draining you, passively killing your potential. If you truly want to be saved from mediocrity, from failure, from repeating the same cycles, you must form the habit to surround yourself with builders, not drifters. Builders don't just dream, they execute. They don't waste time, they invest it. They ask better questions. They push your standards higher. They don't fear your growth, they fuel it. Drifters, on the other hand, are silent destroyers. They have no map, no fire, no urgency. They live in loops, complain about fate, and pretend like the world owes them something. And worst of all, they normalize your smallest self. They make you feel okay being average. And that false comfort is the real danger. Builders will challenge your ego. They will make you feel uncomfortable. They won't let you lie to yourself. And that's exactly why you need them. Your future depends on who you're becoming. And who you're becoming depends on who you're around. Change your circle. Change your temperature. Your goals are freezing in the cold shade of the wrong people. Cut fast. Cut clean. Audit your circle like your life depends on it. Because it does. Stop asking if people are nice. Ask if they build. Do they build their life, their mind, their soul? Or are they drifting and dragging you with them? You know the answer already. Now once you have cleared the dead weight, the next habit will open a doorway most never enter. It sounds simple, almost soft, but it's one of the most powerful weapons you'll ever use. Fast from distractions. 1 hour a day. 1 full hour. No phone. No noise. No scrolling. No stimulation. Nothing. Sounds easy, right? Try it. Just try it. You'll be shocked how addicted your mind is to chaos. How much you've trained your brain to depend on dopamine instead of direction. Most people haven't had a clear, focused thought in years. They run on reaction, not reflection. They respond to pings, not purpose. And in that noise, they lose themselves. Slowly, silently. When you fast from distraction, you give your mind a weapon it forgot. It had clarity. You start hearing your own voice again. You stop being pulled by every opinion, every trend, every panic. You gain control over your focus, your energy, your direction. The noise is a drug, and like any drug, it feels good in the moment, but it costs you your life in the long run. 1 hour of stillness is not about peace. It's about power. It's where your next move gets revealed. It's where you reconnect with your original fire. It's where doubt fades and instinct sharpens. Most men are scared of silence because it forces them to face the truth. They've been busy, but going nowhere. But not you. You're done with noise. You're done being pulled. You will sit in the fire of stillness until the answers come. 1 hour. Every day. No negotiation. Because while the world drowns in distraction, you'll rise. Clear, sharp, dangerous. Every day you wake up with a choice to stay safe or to get closer to the edge of who you're meant to become. Most people stay safe. They wait, they plan, they think, and in that waiting, they wither. But those who rise, those who separate from the average, they don't wait for courage, they act. And that's where the next habit begins. Act on one scary decision before noon, every single day. This habit isn't for the weak, it's for the ones who are done negotiating with fear. You know exactly what I'm talking about. That phone call you keep delaying, that message you don't send, that task you avoid, because it exposes you, challenges you, threatens the comfort you're addicted to. That decision, the one that creates pressure in your chest, that's the one that will save you. Fear doesn't shrink when you ignore it. It multiplies. Every time you run from a difficult decision, you confirm to your subconscious that fear is more powerful than your purpose. That belief is fatal. It robs you of your potential in silence. You don't see it, but it eats you. Slowly, you become passive, indecisive, timid, and eventually you forget how power even feels. But when you build the habit of acting on fear before noon, you reverse that poison. You train your mind to obey courage. You rewire yourself for dominance. That email, you send it. That apology, you make it. That boundary, you set it. Not later, now. Before lunch, before your excuses wake up. And you do this every single day, until your brain no longer hesitates. When danger shows up, it moves. You want to win in business, in health, in relationships? Then move when you're scared. That's where the treasure is buried. Behind the act you're avoiding. That's where growth lives. And that habit, one bold move before noon, is your weapon against a life of regret. But boldness without structure becomes chaos. So the next habit is what anchors your fire. Treat your time like currency, not air. You've been taught time is just passing. It isn't. Time is blood. Time is equity. Time is non-refundable. And yet most people treat it like it's infinite, like they have decades to waste, years to stall, and months to make decisions. They don't. You don't. Everyone says knowledge is power. That's a lie. Applied knowledge is power. But what if I told you most people don't even have knowledge? They just have information overload. They read, scroll, watch, consume, consume, consume. But nothing sticks. Nothing transforms. Nothing builds. You don't need more information. You need clarity. And that starts with a habit that very few ever master. Read to learn, not to escape. You see, most people read for entertainment. They use books the same way they use social media to run away from their problems, their fears, their responsibilities. They read motivational quotes to feel good for 10 minutes. They pick up self-help books to pretend they're making progress. But reading without implementation is just intellectual comfort food. It gives you the illusion of growth without any of the results. You must break this pattern. You must approach reading like a warrior, not a wanderer. When you open a book, don't ask, is this interesting? Ask, how will I use this? Highlight, reread, write notes, extract principles. Apply one idea within 24 hours, or the page was wasted. That's how builders read. That's how dangerous minds are sharpened. You want to read? Fine. But read with a target. Read with a mission. Stop chasing dopamine in new books, and master the few that actually change your mind. It's better to read one book 10 times and live it, than to read 100 and remember nothing. Be ruthless. Be selective. Stop using books as a drug. Use them as a blueprint. Because when you shift your reading from escape to execution, something incredible happens. Your words begin to turn into weapons. You become someone who doesn't just know stuff, but someone who moves differently. People feel it. They hear it in how you speak. They see it in how you lead. You don't just quote ideas, you live them. And that difference, it's everything. Now let's go even deeper, because knowledge means nothing if your actions are scattered, weak, and reactionary. The final habit is the one that brings them all together. Audit your actions like a millionaire audits his bank. Think about it. A man who values money tracks every rupee, every dollar, every transaction. He doesn't guess. He doesn't hope. He knows where it's going, what it's doing, and what it's producing. You must do the exact same with your behavior. Every day, you say you want success? Then show me your last 24 hours. Did your actions match your goals? or did they betray them? Most people say they're hungry, but they don't measure what they do. They say they want change, but they never review their patterns. And that gap between what they say and what they do, that's where failure breeds. You must track your habits like a banker tracks wealth. How many hours did you spend building? How many did you waste? What did you do with your energy, your attention, your focus? Were you intentional or impulsive? Were you directed or distracted? These questions are uncomfortable, yes, but they are the difference between becoming a legend or staying a slave to your own story. Every night, before you sleep, ask, what did I build today? What did I remove? What did I tolerate that I should have cut? What did I say yes to that diluted my mission? This is not about guilt. This is about awareness. Because only the man who sees clearly can act precisely, and only the man who acts precisely can create power that lasts. You don't need motivation. You need measurement. You don't need more hype. You need hard data on your own life. Audit your actions, fix the leaks, and watch how fast your life becomes untouchable. Every man wants to rise, but most are drowning, not because they lack talent, not because they don't want more, but because their daily actions betray their deepest desires. Success is not a mystery. It's not a secret formula. It's a pattern, a series of habits so sharp and powerful, they can save a man from the mediocrity this world desperately wants him to accept. The first habit is brutal in its simplicity. Wake up 2 hours earlier than comfort allows. This isn't about routines or productivity hacks. It's about winning the war against your weakest self. First thing in the morning. While others sleep, you rise. While others delay, you act. That early hour becomes sacred ground. It's where clarity is born, where vision forms, where discipline is trained in silence, far from the noise of the world. But waking up early isn't enough unless you know why you're doing it. That's where the second habit becomes your lifeline. Write down your purpose every single day. Not once, not when it's convenient. Daily. Purpose fades without repetition, and if it's not written, it's not real. This habit engraves your mission into your mind. It becomes a compass you can hold when the storm of life tries to pull you off course. Without purpose, action is random. With it, action becomes lethal. The third habit is the blade that cuts through distraction and dilution. Say no. Your energy is currency. Your focus is gold. Every yes is an investment. Every yes must serve the mission. Weak men say yes to everything and become slaves to everyone. Powerful men say no, often and unapologetically. Not to be rude, but to be free. Freedom isn't granted. It's protected by the walls you build with your choices. But protection is not enough. You must go deeper. That's why the fourth habit is non-negotiable. Remove one toxic habit before you add a new one. Growth without subtraction is chaos. You cannot become the future version of yourself while still carrying the addictions, distractions, and self-betrayals of the old you. Every week, remove one thing that is silently killing you. One behavior, one pattern, one excuse. Because what you cut will define how far you climb.